coming. The seminar we have prepared for you is about the Czech transformation experience from 1989 revolution onwards. We have prepared this seminar in cooperation with the Egyptian Democratic Academy and the Tahrir Lounge. We are a Prague-based Czech NGO think tank called Association for International Affairs, and we focus mainly on education activities for young students, on research and international projects. And we are very happy to be here today with you because this is our first ever seminar in Egypt, and we are very delighted to have you all here with us. Before we start, I just would like to make a few notes about the headphones. Those that you got against your IDs, please keep for the whole day. As to the structure of the seminar, we're going to start with two presentations from our experts. And we would like to give you the floor and to open up a long discussion to hear your comments, to hear your ideas and your thoughts about the ongoing transformation in Egypt and what could be the parallels that you see in between the Egyptian post-revolution developments and the ones in the former Czechoslovakia and the Czech Republic. So this will be the first block of today's session, and we're gonna try to finish just at the time of lunch prayers, and later we will start depending on how the discussion is gonna go and how many questions you're gonna have. And the afternoon block will be structured in the same way, which means two presentations and big discussions, and we'll make sure that we finish before the 3:30 prayers as well. I hope you enjoyed this discussion and seminar, and thank you all for coming again. And I would like to give the floor to my colleague Zora Hasla, who's going to introduce you the speakers and lead you through the whole day. Thank you.
I mean, how did the civil society evolve into a civil society in the new environment? And how did that relate to the community? I mean, the community used to be all equal, sort of having almost the same thoughts. Now there is a sort of diversity. Did that create any other conflicts? How the civil society, the current civil society, could create its representational role to the general public.
There was, let's see, starting with when communists took power in 1948, one of the first things they did was to destroy civil society, the political civil society, but they create something which in broad term could be called as a civil society, but depoliticized civil society, which was very good organized, which was also part of the regime. There was a so-called national front composing not only from political parties but also from let's say civil organization controlled by the party. So this depoliticization of the civil society politicized in 1989, like this civil society politicized in 1989, but then after 2-3 years there was sort of backlash, like going back to depoliticization of the civil society and leaving the politics only upon political parties. You asked how this could work, the communication. I think there are some institutional.
بس عندي ملاحظة سؤالك الوجيه. أنا فاهم سؤالك ليه بالظبط. أنا عايش في جمهورية التشيك بقالي سنوات طويلة. في حاجة اتغيرت مهمة جدا في الموضوع، إن تشيكوسلوفاكيا ايام عبد الناصر كانت دوله شيوعيه، بمعنى انها كانت دوله فيها القطاع العام هو اللي سائد، وبامر الدوله ضربه واحده من الدوله ممكن يطلع ويورد مشاريع. تشيكوسلوفاكيا او التشيك النهارده هي دوله يسودها القطاع الخاص في المقام الاول، القطاع العام استثمارات محدوده واستراتيجيه، وبالتالي مش ممكن بامر من الدوله التشيكيه تطلع الشركات التشيكيه وتستثمر في مصر. بس اكد لك ان الرغبه التشيكيه، وانا عندي معلومات واتصالات دايما معاهم قويه جدا للاستثمار في مصر. الموضوع محتاج قدر من الاستقرار وثقه المصريين في اقتصادهم المقبل، وفي الحاله دي بدون اراده، حتى بدون اراده الحكومه التشيكيه ممكن تكسبوا كل الشركات التشيكيه مصر.
Other questions? Hi. You said it's better for watchdog NGOs to be outside the country. I think we face problem here when any NGO take sponsor from outside, they call them spy and they work for benefit for other countries and something like that. If in the Czech Republic the same society feels that for outside NGOs?
V České republice. V České republice. In the Czech Republic, it's not like this, but definitely there were some nationalist, let's say, ideal, like people who perceive it like this, but it was not predominant opinion. But I know the situation, for example, in Belarus, in Eastern Europe, where exactly this way is, and this way of thinking or perception of NGOs is very present, especially by the regime propaganda. That the regime like blocked. It was the case in Czechoslovakia before 1989. The regime disabled these people, the people who were active in opposition or civic opposition, to do their jobs or to earn for living, and so they were supported from outside. And then when they are supported from outside, they say you are serving their interests against your nation. And this is exactly the case of NGOs, for example, in Belarus today. But I think it's I don't know how to change it, but it's more if these NGOs would prove that they are doing something for Egyptian society, and there are no money for doing it in the country, and the government is not willing to do these things for their own citizens. So I think that's a good proof to that their work has some is relevant or.
Please.
Hello. All right. I just wanted to ask: does the civil society have a role in media or helping media to be more transparent after the revolution, or what kind of role did the civil society took in the Czech Republic during the revolution and after the revolution, and how did it succeed to do something for the country? And I think that the answer for this question about the civil society and being accused of many things, I think the answer is transparency. It needs more transparency. They need to know where they spend and what they do, and that's mainly the answer. And again to the question, the media and the civil society, how it can play a role, and what did the civil society main role during and after the revolution, and how it still continue now. What is the main role that the civil society are doing now in Czech Republic?
I'll start with the history, and then you add the analysis. I would say the trajectory was that unorganized, unstructured civil society somehow pushed the revolution through. I was talking about the street thinking this morning, and I said it was somehow more radical than the civic forum leaders, and that really helped the revolution's success. But then, for me, it was really quite a voluntary withdrawal of the civil society. Somehow it seemed that now that we have democratic politicians, democratically elected and not bound with the Communist Party, this is it. This is how politics is going to happen. And it really, and there was, in addition to that, there was this overwhelming discourse of the economic transformation, which added, now that we have the market economy, that's the fairest system we can have, and economic interests will now bring more democracy to other spheres of public life. And it really took several years before somehow organized civil society had to come back and realize this withdrawal, and also, I would say, the political will that stood against the civil society. The process I talked about, and that was disintegrating the civic movement into political parties, it in a way really undermined the civil society for several years, because it seemed like this was the center of political life, and it was only structured power politics.
For the media, perhaps I will leave it for tomorrow. I have nothing essential to say about it. But concerning this issue, if I prolong your intervention on Klaus and Havel, there was a very important dispute in 1994-1995 between Václav Havel, in the time president, and Václav Klaus, in the time prime minister, about civil society. It started with in 1994 when Václav Havel has his New Year's address to nation and said that our transformation to democracy was very successful in economic terms, in political terms, etc. But we forget the civil society, and we need the democracy without strong civil society is something incomplete, and this provoked a reaction of. He didn't name Václav Klaus in this speech, but Václav Klaus felt that he is the one who is pointing on, and he published another article on that we do not need any civil society. That what is for democracy, what is okay is to have just political institutions, freedom, and market economy, and that's it. So these two poles of the discussion were present within at least the end of the mandate of of Havel in the presidential office, 2003, and it's still there. These two points of view that civil society is something private. For example, Klaus said that there is no civil society. There are only individuals, and the society is composed from individuals, and all. The notion itself as a civil society is something collectivist, connected with a communist ideology.
But there is also the Czech type of civil society to blame. The tradition that you mentioned in the very beginning, that was the Czech civic movement under the Austrian Empire, whatever. I mean, the civil society structures or organizations in let's say, in the Czech lands, as we say, they got used to actually replacing or playing the role of political representation. And somehow, I would say they felt like it also during the revolution. It was like that civil society played that political role, and then it felt like it was represented. And so I would say it was people active in the civil society and organizing civil society who weren't aware of this basic difference and the need for communication and everything you described.
And President, you asked about the current state of civil society. I think it's very good developed, but very much thanks to the European integration, not only because of this juridical and legal possibilities to access the decision-making process, but also because of the funding. There are lots of money going to the civil society organizations on the local level, on trans-border level with Poland and Germany, etc. And that there's a big development, especially on regions from the European money, and we will see what will happen after the funds will be over. In the 90s, it was mostly German foundations, American foundations who supported the development of the civil society, or Soros Open Society Fund. Now they are moving more to the east, and the funding is crucial for the civil society. And if there won't be in the future, in very near future, private local funding of the civil society and the will of people to contribute, to pay people and firms to contribute to the civil activities, I do not see a bright future for the civil society after the end of foreign funding, or foreign. European is not foreign, but partly foreign.
In the arena, that are in the game, these parties that are in parliament and that influence day by day political decision making.
عرفت كذا مش ناسك. اوكي انا كنت مش عارف سالته، انا طلعت برا ساعه مش عارف سالته على ايه. انا كان عندي اهتمام نعرف بالنسبه لموضوع الدستور الكوبريت التشيك. انا مش فاكر طبعا التفاصيل، يمكن انت تعرف احسن مني. امتى تغير دستور الجمهوريه التشيك؟ هل على اساس اجماع وطني، وفاق وطني معين، ومين ترجم هذا الوفاق؟ ومصر طبعا حصل فيها استفتاء ديمقراطي بالفعل على موضوع الدستور، والمصريين قالوا فيه مش عايزين دستور جديد، هنعمل موافقين على تعديل بس الدستور. عايز اسمع براءة طبعا مع كل احترامي نتيجه الاستفتاء الديمقراطي يعني، واخلي رايي الشخصي في الموضوع ده. ليه عايز اسمع رايكم انتم؟ هل ممكن مصر الجديده بناء على الخبره التشيكيه تعمل دستور كويس بعد الانتخابات الديمقراطيه اللي جايه ولا لا؟ هذا سؤال.
I said this morning that the Czechoslovak Revolution worked with the existing communist constitution and it only amended it. But very soon, and I think some of the lawyers, opposition lawyers, were actually even drafting a new constitution, before the revolution. But very soon it seemed like that a new constitution is necessary because of the Czechoslovak tension. So since early 1990, and especially then after the first election, there was a constitutional committee working in the federal parliament and in the Czech and Slovak parliaments. And for a big team, this was, the task to do. So for a year or so, this committee was working hard and was drafting a new constitution while the Czechoslovak state was falling apart. So somehow at the level of the parliament, there was a belief that by passing a new constitution, the federal state would be saved. And they didn't notice that the federal state was not really, functioning at many levels at all. And so then after the second elections, when Václav Klaus and Vladimir Mečiar, the Czech and Slovak leaders of winning parties, starting to organize and split up quite by themselves, the Czech constitution was drafted quite quickly. And for the purpose to be able to start a new state in a few months' time. Obviously, the Czechs are no good in referenda, so there was no referendum planned for passing the constitution or approving it, and there was not even a referendum on the split up of Czechoslovakia.
It's very closely connected with the splitting of Czechoslovakia. Even 4 months before the splitting of Czechoslovakia, in 1st of September 1992, the one part of the federal state, Slovakia, created or approved in the parliament their own constitution, the constitution of the independent state within existing state, which was like the milestone of the ending of the end of Czechoslovakia. And so it was in September 1992, and the Czech constitution was approved by the parliament in December 1992, like 2 weeks before the end of Czechoslovakia, when everything was clear that Czechoslovakia was split on the 1st of January 1993.